Well, good evening. Welcome tonight to Your Story Matters. And just want to give a special thanks to Michael Bayer and their team for providing the pizza and getting the food tonight. Can we give them a big hand? Thank you, guys. And before I turn it over to the worship team here, I want to read Psalm 145, verse 4, which says, "One generation shall commend your works to another and shall declare your mighty acts." And that's what we're doing tonight through Cheryl and Drew and Kristen. They are commending God's works to you tonight. So I pray that you have open ears and open hearts to hear what God wants to say to you. So would you stand with me as I pray, and then we'll sing. Father, I thank you that we could be here tonight, and I pray right now that you would just remove distraction from us. Help us to be fully present and available for how you want to minister to us tonight. Lord, I pray for those who feel weary that you would refresh them. Or for those who may feel apathetic or complacent, may you kind of give them a jolt tonight in a good way to follow you more. Lord, for those who are discouraged, encourage them. And Lord, for all of us, just put your finger on what we need tonight as we listen to Cheryl and Drew and Kristen. And I pray right now just for the peace of God to flood Cheryl's heart and Drew and Kristen's hearts. Lord, just give them the words to say. And Lord, may everything tonight be done to your glory. And all God's people said, Amen.
Yeah, God, I just pray that that's the goal tonight, is that we pour out our praise to you through listening, through the stories that are told, through conversations afterward. I just pray that we focus on you, that we go in the direction of you with everything that's said and done tonight. So thank you for what you've done in everybody's lives in here tonight, and thanks for what you're going to do. In your name, amen.
I want to invite Cheryl Welch forward to join me up here. And can we welcome Cheryl up to the platform here? So I will introduce her, and then I will turn it over for her to share. So if you're wondering why she has a cane, it's not only to hit your husband, but also because you had knee surgery, knee replacement recently. So it's amazing that you can get up and down here. So thanks for being here. So a couple intro questions. The first one is a family photo. Why don't you introduce your family there?
Okay, in the front in the Spider-Man shirt, that is Shayla. She's my middle child. And her husband is behind her, and his name is Andrew. And beside Shayla is Jenna's husband, Eli. And beside Eli is Jenna. And they made us grandma last year, December 23rd, and grandpa. So we're really excited. And then beside Andrew is my son Shad. He's the oldest, and Jenna's the baby. And then, of course, me and my husband Jason.
Okay. And what do you guys do for a living?
Jason is a SPED teacher at Blackhawk.
So special education?
Special education, yes.
Yeah.
And then I work at a company called Children's Autism Center, and I'm an RBT, which is a registered behavior therapist, and I work one-on-one with an autistic kid.
Okay. And how long have you and Jason been married?
July will be 30 years.
Okay. Wow. Awesome. Yeah. Whew. That's good. Yeah. So the story you're about to share, actually you've shared before. What other country did you share this testimony in?
South Africa.
Okay. South Africa. Mm-hmm. And you went there because you took a class. What class did you take that we sometimes offer with other churches?
Perspective. And honestly, I didn't want to at first, but God kept telling me you need to, and I'm so thankful because I was more not so thrilled about all the homework and stuff, but it's really not that bad. And God introduced me to the people in charge of South Africa, and I went.
Very cool. Okay. Anything else you want us to know by way of intro?
Anyway.
Anything else you want us to know before you begin?
Not that I can think of right now.
Okay. I will turn it over to you then.
What I did when I was in South Africa is we were asked to do a devotional because we had 10 days while we were there, and they said if you feel led, do a devotional. So I prayed about it and signed up a day, and then I prayed and prayed and prayed some more, and God told me to talk about. Sorry, I don't know why I'm getting emotional already, but God told me to talk about my testimony and how I grew up. Little did I know, after I shared it, every single person there was abused in one way or another. And our theme for the trip was Unbound. And I titled it From Brokenness to Healing. So this is my story, Bound by Pain. I want to share a verse first, though. He brought them out of darkness, the utter darkness, and broke away their chains. Psalm 107:14. So I grew up in a Christian home, but not the kind you would imagine. My dad, he was deeply devoted to God. Every morning, I would find my dad, and it was so beautiful. I would find him on the couch doing his devotions. most beautiful thing to see. I just wanted to be just like him someday. My favorite moments with him was outside working together. But my mom, she had a different story, and she was shaped by her own trauma and abuse. She struggled with untreated mental health. Her pain turned outwards. She became abusive towards me and my siblings. In some ways, even my dad. Back then, mental health wasn't well understood. There were no resources, no support. We were children just silent in our pain. I grew up with deep wounds, PTSD, anxiety, and depression. I thought I was stupid and worthless and didn't understand what was wrong with me. I didn't know I was hurting so much, I knew I was hurting so much that I didn't even want to live when I was in high school. I wanted to kill myself during those years. I would think about going through with it, and I saw no reason to go on because it was too much pain. However, God saw it differently. Every time I thought about it, he put my friends in my mind to stop me from doing it. And I was very thankful. Because when you're in high school, you don't know how your life is going to turn out. My friends were important to me, and I didn't want to hurt them. But even in the darkness, Jesus met me. One night in elementary, when Dad tucked me into bed, I asked him to help me invite God into my heart. That was the night I became a Christian. Dad once told me, when tucking me in, God is going to use you to help people someday, but I don't know how. I imagined as a little girl and loving gymnastics, because it was fun, that I was going to tell people about Jesus on the balance beam. Crazy little dreams, huh? Still, the pain continued. My mom said things no child should ever hear. She said things like, I wish you were never born. You're stupid. No one will ever marry you. You're just getting married to get out of the house. She slapped me. She beat me with a spoon until it broke. She even tried to control my wedding. She had threats that she wouldn't show up if she couldn't control my wedding. My dad did what he could. He worked overtime, took business trips for his job to provide, and brought us gifts, maybe because he missed us, but I also think it was out of guilt for leaving us. He tried to keep the peace in the house, full of chaos. He loved my mom so deeply, even though he didn't understand how to help her. Struggles from her trauma, help her understand her struggles from her trauma. But his love was such a godly love. Doctors once diagnosed her with schizophrenia. During that time, I don't really remember that part, but I do remember one day that Mom was laying on the floor having a seizure. And I remember how much it scared me. Come to find out, they were doing shock therapy, and that's why she was having seizures. But my counselor later suspected, when I talked to him about it, that it may have been borderline personality because she could flip a switch and it appeared completely normal to outsiders right in the middle of trauma episodes. After she died, I learned that my grandpa had beaten my grandma so badly he thought he killed her. I don't know how old my mom was, but that would be very terrifying to see, especially if she was young or any age. My counselor helped me understand my mom, well, she was a victim of her own trauma from her abuse. She wasn't shown the love from her father that she should have growing up. All she knew was pain. That didn't excuse it, though, but it helped me to forgive her even more. I do believe Mom loved us all deep down. She just didn't know how to show it. My mom did her best, or the best that she could, with her own trauma. I love my mom, even though I was hurt deeply. She had some good moments, but because of all her trauma, that part of her was buried very deep down, and we didn't see it very much. Although I do remember some fun times with her. She kept herself busy working at the shop for so many hours, so at times we didn't see her much. But honestly, I think personally that deep down, all she was trying to do was prove to her dad that she can be successful. One thing that I was told that I never got to witness, because I don't remember when the tornado was, I don't remember what year, so I could have been little. When the tornado hit Bern, I think it was in the 70s, she opened up her house, because that was one house that was not hit, and had others come over, and they cooked meals for people who have lost everything, so they had something to eat. People even brought food from their own place, because their fridges, they had no electricity. My mom had a kind heart. It's just past trauma that didn't allow her to show it very often. My mom was known for her cooking. I would have loved to have seen that moment. Like I said, maybe I did, but if I did, I don't remember because I was so little. But it would have been beautiful to watch. She was still that person deep down, though, and I knew it later in life. But because of her trauma and her illness, it didn't come out very often, like I said earlier. The next part of my devotions is years of silence, stillness, and waiting. Even after I came to Christ, the pain didn't magically disappear. Every day I prayed, God, break these chains. I don't want my kids to grow up with this pain. I want to do better than that. But for years, he seemed silent. I guess it was because I was wanting to be healed right then and right there. Because like I said, I wanted it to be done before I got married and had kids. There were times I couldn't feel him in the loneliness and pain. I didn't understand waiting. It was very hard, and I'm sure it's hard for a lot of us to wait when we want God to answer. Now, years later, I see that he was working quietly in the background, carrying me through it. During that, he was molding me and preparing me for my future and planting seeds throughout those years to become the person who I was meant to be. When my mom was dying of leukemia, God whispered, "Stay with her tonight." I wasn't sure, but I listened. And that night, she asked forgiveness. God gives beautiful and great gifts toward the end of life because my mom's mind was so clear at that moment, and she knew what she was saying and doing. So I knew she was truly sorry. Mom's pain when she passed was over from her childhood, and now she's in heaven. And to add a little bit, today I was going through her Bible, and it was really neat to see how much she marked in that Bible. It was beautiful. The moment was being on, okay. Sorry. That moment was the beginning of my healing journey. God was never distant. He was always near. I just didn't see him. Another verse I have is, the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in the spirit. Psalms 34:18. And that verse really meant a lot to me. This next part of my testimony is marriage, moving, and a breaking point. I carried those wounds into adulthood and into my marriage. We struggled for years without understanding why. I blamed myself. I asked God to show me what was wrong, because still, I thought I was stupid, all the negative things, and that's all that kept going through my mind. And I even said, God, why did you make junk? Sometimes I even felt like God didn't love me, which obviously isn't true. But those were lies from Satan, because God truly does love us. He wants the best for us. When my youngest child was about to start school, I decided to try college. I'd been a stay-at-home mom for so long, I wasn't sure who I was anymore. I lost my identity. I didn't know what to do with my life at that moment. But when my mom found out, she said, "You'll never make it through college," because once again, she thought I was stupid. Well, at that moment, of course, I still thought I was dumb when I heard that. But deep down, it also lit a fire in me. And I became very determined that I was going to prove her wrong, and I was going to graduate from college. But in the process, I lost focus with my family because I was so focused on that. My husband and I grew more and more distant throughout that time. He stayed behind with the kids while I moved to South Bend to finish my degree, thinking he would follow me, but he didn't. I felt abandoned. We were fractured and angry and lost. We both had different ideas on what it was to support each other and never really discussed it. So, of course, I thought this is what he should have done. Eventually, I had to choose finish school or go home and fight for my marriage. Because of a professor at college, after we talked, I decided to choose my family. It wasn't easy to leave school because I desperately wanted to finish and prove Mom wrong. But I knew I had to because that was the best choice. Well, God met us in our brokenness together. He began to piece us back together. At one point, when I came home, I thought our marriage was going to be over. We both were so hurt. Thankfully, both of us are very stubborn. I truly believe that because we were both stubborn, that it was what kept us from getting a divorce. Because neither of us wanted to be the person that filed for a divorce. We wanted the other person to do it if it was going to happen. Thankfully, deep down, both of us truly wanted to fix things because we loved each other so much and we loved God. It was really hard It's really hard when you're in a lot of pain from trauma and you don't know what you're doing wrong and blaming yourself for all the problems in your marriage. I thought it was 100% me, but we all know that it takes two at times. God's plans are so much better. He saved us from our marriage, saved our marriage through a tragedy. The next section says the car wreck that changed everything. On December 15th, 2017, my life changed forever. An Amish driver hit me so hard that my car flipped over a fence without breaking it. I was airlifted to the hospital. The doctor didn't think I would survive. I had 2 brain bleeds, a broken pelvis in 3 places, and a broken vertebrae. My family was told she might not make it through the night. But God, He showed up again. He wasn't done with me. God had plans. That crash became the turning point. What was meant to destroy me, God used to save me and our marriage. It brought us so much closer. While recovering in rehab, my dad and siblings came to visit me on Christmas. But I don't remember it at the time. And at that time, I didn't know that would have been my dad's last Christmas. And his birthday. He was born December 25th. Well, as I was healing, later I got a text from my brother that said, I'm heading to the ER with Dad. I couldn't drive yet, so Jason, without hesitation, he drove me to Indianapolis. That shows love. That's when we found out that my dad had brain cancer. I miss him so much. He meant so much to me. And thanks to Phoebe, this Christmas was a happy Christmas because I struggled for a while. So that was a wonderful gift from God. The next section is Unbound, God's Healing in Unexpected Ways. That wreck didn't just save my life. It opened my eyes. At 51 years old, I was diagnosed with RSD ADHD. It's called rejection sensitive dysphoria with PTSD and with ADHD. I found out because my children wanted me to get checked after they were tested and found out they had it, both my girls. Suddenly, when I found out all the struggles I had in school and thinking I was dumb, well, it was related to my ADHD, and that's all it was. And I also have a written comprehension disability, and that's all it was. So it made sense of all the struggles I faced in school growing up. But healing, it didn't come the way I expected, but it came. Just not the way I wanted, like earlier in life. I still have things to work on due to a lifetime of trauma. And I know God will get me through. And I know I'm not 100% yet, but you know what? That's okay, because I'll get there when God's ready, as I'm working on it. But I know that no matter where you are in your life, God can use you. And He can use you any way He wants. Let's see. So God has a purpose for all my pain. I don't know what it is, but I know He's got this. And I know that He can use it with others to help them find hope. And that's my prayer. I want others who struggle to find hope. I see now that because of God's timing, my kids wouldn't be who they are today. I'm so proud of each one of them. Now I can be a grandma that I was meant to be for my grandkids because I couldn't fully be there for my kids. God does have a better plan. Another verse I have is, then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. John 8:32. I was bound by fear, pain, and confusion. Now I am unbound by the grace of Jesus. And I have an example with stone soup as I thought about it. Well, to relate stone soup to God, I said, God uses our little, meaning the things we struggle with. Even when all you have to offer is brokenness, God can make something beautiful. Like the story in stone soup, when each person brought just a little, it became a feast. In the same way, when we bring our pain, our faith, our yes, God adds his power and turns it into a purpose, and it's beautiful. Another verse I have, but he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. 2 Corinthians 12:9. God doesn't need us to have it all together, like I used to think. And of course, those were lies. He just asks us to bring what we have and trust him to do the rest. I also wrote a couple reflection questions that I want you guys to think about. What are some chains in your life that you need God to break? And I would love for you guys to pray about these questions as I read them, and just think about it and take it to God. The second question is, have you ever felt like God was silent far too long? Looking back, can you see how he may have been working? The third one is, what little can you bring to God today? Like in stone soup or the loaves and fish, and trust him to multiply. So.
Thank you, Cheryl. Before you go down, we have a picture of a Bible that Cheryl introduced to me called the NIV Clear Focus Bible. Do you have a picture of that? There we go. And so that's a really interesting Bible. It was designed, right, for people with ADHD or
learning disabilities.
Yeah. It has a special font. If you go to the next slide, it shows the font. It's called Bionic font. It may be hard to see from where you're at, but different parts of the letters are in bold and some are not. And so I've heard some good stories from you and from some others how this Bible has really helped them focus as they read the Bible. So if you need to take a look at it, she brought a copy tonight to look at. We ordered a couple for the Book Nook. I don't know if they're in yet. They're supposed to be in today. You can check back with Brenda as well. But check it out before you leave tonight or maybe this Sunday.
There were times where just reading a regular Bible with regular font, my brain would get so tired because of my learning disabilities, I couldn't keep going, and I would just quit. But with this Bible, I've read 10 chapters, which is huge. And I was amazed. And it also makes better comprehension, because I also struggled with that.
Yeah, pretty cool. Can we give a hand to Cheryl one more time? Well, we're going to take a minute and transition to Drew and Kristen. If you would take a moment while we do that just to stand, stretch, greet someone around you, say hello, and we'll start back up in a minute or two. Testing. Oh, there we go. Wonderful. Well, if you would find your seats again, we're ready for round 2. Yes. So I am so thankful for Cheryl and now Drew and Kristen being willing to share. It takes a lot of guts to share such personal things. And if you ever feel led to share, come talk with me, okay? I actually texted Drew and Kristen, hey, would you guys be interested in sharing? And didn't take long. Drew responded pretty quickly. Yes. I hope you talked to your wife first.
I did.
Okay, good. All right.
She wasn't as quick as me, but
Yeah. Well, we have a picture for you of you guys. Just introduce your family first. Who are those beautiful kids with you guys?
yeah. So this is my beautiful wife, Kristen, and then our oldest, Elliot. He's 4, and then our youngest is Jasper. Yeah, and he's 2.
Okay.
And also we've got one on the way. We decided 2 boys wasn't enough, so we're just gonna have another one. Yeah. So 3 boys, another boy coming.
Awesome. Congratulations. So how long have you guys been married?
Yeah, so coming up on 12 years. So at the end of May, we'll be married for 12 years. Okay. Yeah.
Congrats. And then we have a couple other photos. A lot of you sometimes like to play the burn bingo game of who's related to who. And so, Kristen, this is your parents and siblings. You want to introduce some of them?
Yeah, so my parents are Rex and Cheryl Lotzenheiser. And then you guys will probably know my brother Jeremy and his wife Amber, who live here in town. And then oldest brother Zach, they live in Florida. And then a sister Donna, and then all of our kiddos.
And then you have another extended family photo, okay?
Yeah, so on the Lehman side, this is my grandparents, Doyle and Anna Lehman. And then all of, Brent and Joni, and Kevin and Guiney, and then all of the cousins and kids. Yep.
And then you have the Lehman side, but then you have another side.
Lotzenheiser
Yeah, go ahead and show the Lotzenheiser side.
Yes. So my grandparents on the Lotzenheiser side are Bob and Jean Lotzenheiser, and then some more people you know and love, like Rick and Sue Sprunger, and Cindy and Larry, Rod and Janie, and Roger and Gretchen. So, yeah.
We don't have any photos of your family, but just because, yeah.
That's all right.
That's okay, okay. They're not related, they're not from
Yeah, they're
here,
good looking too.
They're good, okay, I believe you, yeah. And what do you guys do for a living now?
Yeah, so I work at Swiss Village. I work in the activities department, and so I get to hang out with residents, and it's been a blast. So really enjoying it.
I work for a nonprofit called Stadia, and we help start churches all around the world. And so I serve on our operations team, and I do finance and IT.
And you recently started a business?
Yes. Yeah. So I love to cook and bake, and so when we moved here, one of the things that we talked about doing was opening a bakery out of our home. And so every other weekend, I sell baked goods from my porch, and so it's been great. We're having a lot of fun with it, and I couldn't do it without her. So it's definitely a team effort. It's been awesome. So.
Awesome. And if you look under your seat, there's a complimentary cinnamon roll from. No, just kidding.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
We were praying for that, but then I made too many things last night. So.
That's all good. Yeah. But you really should try his food. It's delicious. Anything else you want us to know by way of introduction before we dive into some deep stuff here?
I don't think so.
Okay. So I know you've lived in other places besides Bern, Indiana. Give us a list of the places you've lived and where you're from.
Yeah, so Kristen and I met at Bible College. We were in Omaha, Nebraska, and there was a really small Bible college that we went to there, and that's where we met. And so that was the first place we lived. And then we were there until 2020, and then moved to Kansas City. We were there, 5 years, and then moved here. Anything? Want me to elaborate on that? Or
Where are you from originally? Yeah.
Me originally, yeah. So I born in Phoenix, Arizona, but grew up in Houston, Texas. And so my dad was a pastor, and so I grew up, and my dad was always, the guy I saw every Sunday. So we were there in Houston, and then we moved to Kansas, which is where my mom's from, in 8th grade. And so Kansas City area at a small town. So yeah.
So we're going to talk about some big themes tonight, like transitions and working in ministry and transitioning out of local church ministry. But give us a brief snapshot of the different ministry roles and churches that you guys have worked in, what you guys do.
Yes. Okay. So I went to Bible college. Yeah, like I said, that's where Kristen and I met, and we had a lot of internships through our school. Both of us had internships, and I started interning at a church in Omaha, and ended up getting hired on there after I graduated. And so most of my time in ministry, I was a worship leader. Did the music, and so did that as an intern, and then ended up being at that church, gosh, for close to 10 years. And over that time, my role shifted some, but we went multi-site, and so I was worship leader for most of that time, but then at the end of my time became a campus pastor, and did that for, what was it, like 3 years or so. And then I had also a worship leading ministry job in Kansas City, and that's what brought us back there too, so yeah.
Yeah, so I also went to school for worship ministry, and then quickly decided that I didn't want to be a worship leader up here. Can do musical things and love it, but didn't want to be the main person up on stage. And so I fell in love with a lot of the tech side of things. And so kind of still got a worship arts degree, but kind of took it upon myself to kind of learn a lot of the tech side of stuff. And so my internships were in production. So I had an internship in California out at Saddleback Church for a summer, and was their production director there for my summer, and then came back to Omaha and started interning at the same church that Drew was at as their intern production director, and so kind of set up some systems there for the campuses. So that was in 2013, and then I graduated in 2014, and we got married, and the church hired me on full-time as well, so we were both at the same church. And so we were actually at separate campuses our first year of marriage. So I was at our main campus doing production things there, making things ran smoothly for all of our campuses. And Drew was a worship leader at our other campus. And then when they asked him to be a campus pastor at one of our new campuses, we decided that it was probably wise of us to be together and do ministry together there. And so I stepped down from doing production and became an administrative assistant for our connections director and our worship arts pastor, who oversaw all of our campuses' worship arts team. And so I did those two roles until we, left the church, I believe.
And so you guys have experienced, as part of your story, some really hard things and challenges in life and ministry. Would you tell us what those are?
Yeah, definitely. I got my start young in ministry, and I ran really hard for about 10 years. And the church was growing really rapidly during that time, so there was no shortage of things to do and to take on. But all of that running and that pace, it eventually caught up with me. And after about 3 years of being campus pastor, burnout started to settle in. And it wasn't dramatic or sudden. It was really more gradual. But I really got to this place where before I knew it, I just wasn't feeling like myself. And because at first, that's really all I could tell, was that something was different. And obviously being in a relational ministry position and starting to experience something like that can present some challenges, as I'm sure you can imagine. But I think one of the hardest parts was so many people had only known me as this happy-go-lucky, lively person, which is who I am. I mean, it's absolutely so much of who I am as a person, but I was starting to experience things that even I couldn't explain. And so that made it difficult, because not only was I noticing, but other people were noticing that as well too. And I became very different, and people were understandably concerned, right? Because it was hard for them as well too. But that season, it led us on this journey of trying to figure out and understand what was going on, because here I am in this role that's very demanding and very busy, and I'm feeling broken, and I'm feeling like all the things that I know about myself are kind of being challenged because of the way that I feel, and I don't really want to do much of anything. And so that was really the first time in my life that I had experienced anything like that. And so depression for me was kind of like a lost and disorienting feeling, right? It's like, man, we've not been here before. I don't know what's going on. And quite frankly, I'm not super alert to be able to figure it out. I have very little ability to do anything about it. And so that sent us on this journey of, and I say sent us because it was a lot of the people around me that had to start making decisions on my behalf, because I was kind of in a capacity where I was unable to do much at all, and which was really hard, and especially for my wife. But it led to the season of trying to figure out, okay, what does this look like? Or what, navigating mental health, trying to figure out what medication support we might need, counseling, and then leaning into family in ways that we hadn't ever before. So over the course of all of that, I had a sabbatical, but it ultimately led to realizing that the healthiest step that I could make was to step down from my ministry role, and which was really hard. And it's one of the things that you don't want to have to think about. You never think that you'll be in that position, but when you're at that place of brokenness, sometimes things have to happen in order to choose health. So that's kind of the bulk of that. And it's interesting, though, because even that decision didn't solve everything. I was working at some friends of ours owned a coffee shop, and so I love coffee, but I was like becoming a barista for the very first time. But it also meant a financial shift for us. Kristen and I, weren't able to afford the apartment we lived in, and so that meant that we moved into some friends of ours from the church basement, and it was a challenging time, and it brings you back to the basics of, of what it means to just figure out life, and so that there was a season where we did that, and it was humbling, and it was a reminder, though, because the church did really come alongside of us, and I think that's the bulk of it.
I appreciate your vulnerability. And Kristen, anything that you would like to add? Like, what's it like to walk alongside Drew during this? And Drew, you're welcome to chime in too. But just what's it like to walk through with this with your husband as he's going through this?
Let me find my notes. Here it is. It was hard. I have never seen my husband that way before. Like he said, what you see with him is what you get. Drew is loud, Drew is happy, he is full of life, and he just wasn't that way. So watching my joyful, full of life partner disappear was devastating. It was really hard.
What advice or encouragement would you guys have as you think about this time in your life? What, for those who may be experiencing burnout, depression, or what advice or encouragement would you have for someone who's walking alongside someone who is? What would you say to them?
Yeah, totally. I've also got some notes.
We clearly have this huge section.
Yeah. So I'll say this. One of the other parts, just to kind of help you guys understand the journey that we've been on, is 2018 was kind of when I first started experiencing depression for the first time. But I really, for the next, what was it? What did we decide? It was 8 years?
8 years.
Yeah, 8 years. I was basically in this cycle where about every 6 months I might be doing well. I'd kind of come out of a slump, and then I would fall back into it. So I was in this cycle of depression. And so it wasn't kind of like a one single event. But that said, what I've learned through those different episodes or seasons of depression is that each season is different, each person is different, and so just because I've gone through it doesn't mean I'll know exactly what you're experiencing, but the truth is there are other people that have gone through this, and that you're not alone. And although you may feel broken, the truth is that brokenness is not beyond hope. And you might feel lost or numb or stuck, or that something is wrong with you. But the reality is that life does move on, even though in the moment you might not be able to see past it. And In depression, it's a mental battle of lies and being able to discern truth and your ability to discern being compromised. Not recognizing yourself anymore doesn't mean that you're gone. Because honestly, at one of the lowest parts for me, I was concerned that my mind might not ever work the way that I was used to it working again. And that was scary. And it's okay to be scared. And it's okay to receive help from the people around you. At least if you're anything like me, you might not want to. But people do want to help, and they may not know how. And so be gracious with yourself, and be gracious with those people as well, too. And I think the biggest thing, if I were to just like kind of try and say it succinctly, is be kind to yourself. Because you're navigating waters that you've never navigated before if it's your first time. And even if you've experienced it before, it's going to be different. And that's okay. And so just be patient. Yeah.
Kristen, I know when we met, the three of us, I was struck by you when you said coming alongside him, even just like little things, if he did little things as he was in the middle of this, like you were just encouraging. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. I'm a doer. I want to fix things. I want to organize. I want to move things forward, like right away. So if something needs to be done, I'm doing it, and nothing's going to stand in my way until that's done. And so to see Drew like that and know that there's not really much that I could do was really hard. It was completely out of my control. I wanted him to just do things like get up. Like, why are you sitting on the couch? Just get up. Like, there's things that need to be done, you know? Like, it just doesn't seem like it's that hard. But for him, it was really hard. And so as we kind of walked through this journey, I just had to learn that your presence matters more than solutions. Just being there for him, even though I felt like it didn't matter, meant more to him, even though he couldn't communicate that to me in the time. And so you don't have to fix it. Showing up consistently is already loving deeply, even though it doesn't feel that way. And it's okay to admit that it's hard for you too. I mean, it was hard for me. He was struggling, but it was also hard. I mean, I was working from home. My job is remote, so I work from home. I had Elliot. I had Jasper. Jasper was a hard baby. We were alone. We didn't have community where we were living. It was exhausting. I was tired. I was angry. I was upset. You know, I felt like we had walked through these doors that God had opened for us to move to Kansas City that felt like it was going to fix our problems, and it didn't. It was just a new city with the same problems with children. And my husband wasn't okay. And so just allowing myself to feel tired and to feel frustrated and to feel angry, but knowing that, like, there is an end, even though it doesn't feel that way, but just trusting that consistency and being there and just little wins. Like, he would get up and it was like, all right, he had breakfast today. If that's all he does today, great. He had breakfast, you know? And so even for me, I'm like, well, we've got a list of things. Laundry needs to be done. The bathrooms need to be cleaned. Our children need to be fed, you know? But for him, you know, just taking one small step was a big deal, and us celebrating that together, you know, helped move us forward. Yeah.
Can I ask how you guys feel like you're doing now? I know I'm venturing off script a little bit.
Yeah, no. It's interesting, like, you know, she's often able to keep track of, like, kind of the timeline of my different depressive episodes, but I have not experienced an episode like that since, I guess, January of last year. And so that's huge for me to kind of break the 6-month cycle. And so, and it's amazing. I think God has done an amazing amount of things over the course of this last year. And so much of it meant taking action and learning that it's okay to step out and take a risk and to fight for health. And so I believe that our, like, diligence and our being deliberate to take those steps largely resulting in moving here was a huge part of that. And it was hard, though, because like our Kansas City experience, it can be easy to think, oh, well, I'm gonna move, and, you know, and knowing that it's not the move is not the thing that fixes things, right? Because the grass isn't always greener, but There are times, though, that you have to listen because sometimes moving might be the only thing. God needs to move you because he just needs to move you. And that's okay because it broke paradigm. Like, it wasn't like there was a job here. None of the job stuff had been talked about at all. It was just like kind of this is the time we need to do this for us. And
I think it felt wrong to choose something that we wanted, but wanting change wasn't selfish. God was already moving. Jeremy and Amber, we joke about this, but for 5 years, like when we said we were moving to Kansas, they were like, why are you not moving here? And we're like, we can't move to Bern. We're not moving to Bern, you know? And I mean, we've always wanted to live in Bern. Like when we would come visit growing up, I mean, we would try to convince my parents all the way home, like, just get a job there, just move back. Like, why are we going home? We love it here. And so when Jeremy and Amber moved here, it was just kind of surreal. We found ourselves coming back here more as a family, having Christmases here, seeing my grandparents, and every time the cousins were together, it was just like, this is just crazy that they live here, that they are living what we tried to convince, you know, my parents to have us do growing up. And when things got really hard, I mean, they were my people. Like Jeremy's FaceTiming me every day. I'm texting Amber every hour of every day. My cousins, Lori and Amanda and Rachel, like, you know, we have a text thread and we would just check in on each other. And it's like the people who, we were so isolated and lonely in Kansas and had no community. And Elliot was asking constantly to talk to his cousins and, who's coming over tonight for dinner, Mom? You know, like, who are we going to see this weekend? And we're like, no one, bud. You know, like, it's just us. It's your family in this little house of ours. And so Bern was scary, but it just felt necessary. And I think that we laughed it off, but I really think like God was moving like through those conversations already 5 years ago and opening doors and making way for what is happening in our life right now. And I mean, we came to visit in Thanksgiving of 2024, and that was when we really were like, why are we laughing about this? Like, what if we actually said like, okay, this isn't selfish. Like, God, you know, like you're moving. Like, what if we just said yes to this?
Well, I think that like so many of those conversations happened in that hallway.
Yeah.
And we're walking here and like, you know, it was probably a year or two before we had a moment where we came here and visited and we were like really discerning, hey, is this going to be it? And it wasn't clear to us at that time. It was clear that it wasn't the time or whatever it might be. But then that trip in Thanksgiving of 24 was altogether different. And it's like we drove home. And sometimes God does his best work on a trip home. I don't know why. But but he did. And we were struck by the amount of people that would say, hey, well, there's always room for you here. And they said, we'd love, you know, to have you here. And unbeknownst to one another. And those conversations all happened. And God used that. And it shifted us because God knew where we were. And Kansas City was very isolating. And it was a tough season for us. And so we were looking. And even though we didn't know what was going to be next, but.
Yeah.
Another big theme of your lives is that you've both learned a lot about what it means to be in ministry, whether having an official title in a church or not. So maybe tell us more about that and what God's teaching you about that right now.
Yeah, I think, especially when you're young in ministry, you just kind of, at least for me, I got into it and I thought, oh, you know, this is what I'm doing. You know, people would say, you know, what's your 5-year plan? What's your 10-year plan? It's like, I don't know, when's lunch? I mean, I don't know. That's like, I'm just, like, we're not talking about that, you know? But things start to occur where like changes need to happen. And I think what God has done through leaving ministry is that it's challenging. I think there's so many things that kind of keep you in it. And I think that that's good. I think it's good for us to be faithful and loyal to our commitments. But I also think that loyalty can be deceiving. Because loyalty can convince you to stay and beyond your ability to look at your own health. And that's a scary and can be a dangerous place to be. And so I think that in ministry, you have to be willing to acknowledge what is true and what is happening in the current realities that you're experiencing. And as a result of that, we did have to step out. But man, on the other side of stepping out, God has shown us that. Now, don't get me wrong, God wants to work in the church and through the ministries of the local church, but he also wants us beyond that as well, too. And I believe that what God is teaching us now is that he has placed us in a community of people. And to step back, at least at this time, it's not that we'll never work at a church. It's not about either or comparing, because it's not about comparison. But the reality is that God, he's placed us in a community as people that are a part of this community, and he wants to use us. And so that meant for us doing something that was on our heart, which was, for me, getting to cook for people and spend time with them. And God just gave me that impression when we were living in Kansas City. And there's no greater gift to me than to have people in an environment where we can do both of those things. And so doing this, it's last night we're sitting around the table at a LifeWise event, and it's we're doing that. We're eating food and we're spending time together. And so the ways that he's been able to just follow through on that invitation really has been amazing. And so it's really helped open my eyes to not limit what God wants to do. Because the reality is that he is at work all around us, and he just wants us to be a part of what he's doing. And when you do, it's exciting.
Another theme that I've noticed is that you both seem very different from each other personality-wise. And yet God led you two together with different personalities and giftings. You're laughing because it's true, right?
Yes.
Maybe tell us about that and what you've learned.
Do you want to go first? You want me? I'm going first. Hey, Alexa, what is type A? No. We are total opposites, and they say opposites attract, but when you get the opportunity to experience it for yourself, you're like, wow, okay, I guess that's really true. God brought us together, at Bible college, and it's amazing though, because I think that obviously there was the moments where we were getting to know each other, but I really think that the differences in our personality show through over just the long term of our relationship. And I think it's really through the seasons where I've been able to lean on Kristen and she's been able to lean on me, where we start to realize it's man, God, he kind of he knew what he was doing, And I am the I don't know if loose cannon's the right word, but it's I'm the more unpredictable,
I'm going to start baking at 10 o'clock at night when I'm getting ready to go to bed because,
Perfectly reasonable, yeah. And, I'm not one to miss an opportunity of inspiration. I'll just say that, Don't want to miss out. But I'll say this, probably one of the ways that it's shown through recently that's been really fun is, we step out, and honestly, Kristen was really big in encouraging me to kind of take the initial leap with starting this business. Because I think I would have talked myself out of it probably every time forever, I just would have never done it. And she was like, no, Drew, you should really do this. And as a result of doing that, obviously what I care about is making something delicious and all the things that need to go into it to make it that way. And for her, it's she's like, oh no, Drew, you need this, you need business cards, you need, all right, the packaging, I think we need to use, it's she's just her gears are just running. And I'm like, wow, you make me look really good. You know what I mean? Is what I think. But it's, but God has gifted her that way. And so to watch that from my seat, it's there's this part of her that's come to life that, and so even to just bring it back to the whole ministry conversation of doing it together, it's she's over here at this campus, I'm at this campus. We're not exactly partnering. Whereas now, we're in our home and we're making these decisions together about, oh, how do we want to do this thing? And she's like, oh, this. And I'm like, oh, that. And that, you can't put a price tag on that. And so, at any rate, that's been the part that's I'm really pumped about. So, go ahead.
Yeah. Drew always has more words than me. Drew has challenged me and stretched me in so many ways, and I can live in worst case scenario thinking. I can talk myself out of things just like he can talk himself out of things, but in very different ways. And so I feel like in the ways where, I don't know, I can see where things can go bad, or we shouldn't be doing this, or like this isn't a good example. And he's like, just roll with it. It's fine. We're making memories. It's going to be great, you know? So he's been good for me in that, to let my hair down a little bit. We like to joke that when we met in college, I was on my school visit, and it was love at first sight for sure. He was up on stage playing guitar by himself, leading worship, and he had just gotten back from a missions trip, and so he was like real scruffy, was wearing like...
You know, I live by the adage, shower once a week whether you need it or not.
Yeah, you know? He's got this beanie on, and a lot of people don't know that Drew wasn't always very good with his vocals, and so he was a little bit on the struggle bus, and my mom leaned over and said, Kristen, he's kind of cute. And I was like, are you kidding me right now? I'm like, no, like he is the total opposite of me.
Swept
like,
her off her feet.
Yes, so it was definitely love at first sight, and we should have known from there that, yes, we would be total opposites, but thriving in every type of way, so.
Well, I know we're getting near the end here. Is there anything else you want us to know before we wrap up tonight? I just really appreciate you guys sharing. Anything else you want us to know?
Yeah, just I think with us moving here, one of the things that we really had on our heart was being a part of this community. And as much as God, we felt like was leading us here, I really feel like he was leading us to the community of people here. And so I think one of the reasons why I really jumped at the opportunity to share was because this is a great opportunity to bridge into a conversation and a connection with you. And yeah, just know that if if you see us, we'd love to connect and get to know you, because we really do believe that God has stuff in mind for all of us, and so we're excited to get to know you.
Yeah. We left survival mode, and God met us right where we were at, and I don't know, I'm just so grateful to be here. I'm grateful for this community and for each of you, and Bern is a special place, and we really wouldn't change being here for anything. I mean, I would always tell Amber, we can't just move, it didn't work the first time, and what if we get to Bern and it's not what we thought it would be? And she's like, it can't be worse than where you are, so just do it. And it's true. I'm like, I have nothing to argue with you there, because
Amen.
We were by ourselves, and so anyway, we did, and I wouldn't change it for anything for our kids. I mean, when we met for lunch, we just talked about how we each are thriving in different ways here, and I feel like parts of us have come back to life that we felt like we're missing for so long. And we're just grateful for it. We're grateful for the Jesus in our daily lives for us and for our kids. I mean, Elliot is getting Jesus in literally double the amount of places than he was in Kansas, and it's encouraging for us too. And I just never in a million years thought that we would be living here and doing life with my family and with cousins and nieces and nephews and aunts and uncles and cousins. And I mean, I'm just really grateful for this place, and you guys are a huge part of that. So thank you.
Can we express our appreciation to Drew and Kristen? We're going to take a moment and pray for them. And Cheryl, if I can have you come forward just down here on the floor, and Drew and Kristen, if you guys want to come down here, we'll pray for them as we wrap up tonight. And if everyone else could just stand and reach out a hand. And if you have more questions or want to know more of the story, reach out to Cheryl. Reach out to Drew and Kristen. Check out Cheryl's NIV Clear Focus Bible or in the Book Nook. We'd love to show you that too. So let's reach out a hand as we pray for them. Father, I'm always so amazed at just how you work and how people are just willing to be so vulnerable. It's amazing. Just thank you for Cheryl's courage and Drew and Kristen's courage too, just to share a lot of hard stuff in their life, yet how you've worked through it and been so faithful. We just give you praise for that. Well, thank you for bringing Drew and Kristen here to Bern, Indiana, of all places. I pray that they would continue to find this an amazing place and a warm and welcoming community, and that you would keep leading them through everything. And may you open up doors to talk about depression and burnout and life with people here who may have questions. And I thank you, too, for Cheryl's story. Lord, just all you've brought her through, all that she's learned about herself. Well, I pray that her story tonight would open up doors, too, to connect with people and help people. And so, Father, as we get ready to go tonight, may you continue just to help us reflect by your Spirit what you want us to do next. May you remind us just how loved we are in Christ, that nothing can separate us from the love of God in Christ. Father, we love you so much and just commit the rest of the night to you. In Jesus' name, amen. Yeah. Thanks for coming. You're dismissed.